the new god of injustice, the new gods of injustice, the new god of injustice, the new goddess of injustice, the new goddesses of injustice, the new goddess of injustice, the old god of injustice, the old gods of injustice, the old god of injustice, the old goddess of injustice, the old goddesses of injustice, the old goddess of injustice, the greater god of injustice, the greater gods of injustice, the greater god of injustice, the greater goddess of injustice, the greater goddesses of injustice, the greater goddess of injustice, the lesser god of injustice, the lesser gods of injustice, the lesser god of injustice, the lesser goddess of injustice, the lesser goddesses of injustice, the lesser goddess of injustice, the higher god of injustice, the higher gods of injustice, the higher god of injustice, the higher goddess of injustice, the higher goddesses of injustice, the higher goddess of injustice, the lower god of injustice, the lower gods of injustice, the lower god of injustice, the lower goddess of injustice, the lower goddesses of injustice, the lower goddess of injustice, the greater spirit of injustice, the greater spirits of injustice, the greater spirit of injustice, the lesser spirit of injustice, the lesser spirits of injustice, the lesser spirit of injustice, the higher spirit of injustice, the higher spirits of injustice, the higher spirit of injustice, the lower spirit of injustice, the lower spirits of injustice, the lower spirit of injustice, the major god of injustice, the major gods of injustice, the major god of injustice, the major goddess of injustice, the major goddesses of injustice, the major goddess of injustice, the minor god of injustice, the minor gods of injustice, the minor god of injustice, the minor goddess of injustice, the minor goddesses of injustice, the minor goddess of injustice, the superior god of injustice, the superior gods of injustice, the superior god of injustice, the superior goddess of injustice, the superior goddesses of injustice, the superior goddess of injustice, the inferior god of injustice, the inferior gods of injustice, the inferior god of injustice, the inferior goddess of injustice, the inferior goddesses of injustice, the inferior goddess of injustice, the ancestor god of injustice, the ancestor gods of injustice, the ancestor god of injustice, the ancestor goddess of injustice, the ancestor goddesses of injustice, the ancestor goddess of injustice, the ascendant god of injustice, the ascendant gods of injustice, the ascendant god of injustice, the ascendant goddess of injustice, the ascendant goddesses of injustice, the ascendant goddess of injustice, the descendant god of injustice, the descendant gods of injustice, the descendant god of injustice, the descendant goddess of injustice, the descendant goddesses of injustice, the descendant goddess of injustice, the transcendent god of injustice, the transcendent gods of injustice, the transcendent god of injustice, the transcendent goddess of injustice, the transcendent goddesses of injustice, the transcendent goddess of injustice, the past god of injustice, the past gods of injustice, the past god of injustice, the past goddess of injustice, the past goddesses of injustice, the past goddess of injustice, the present god of injustice, the present gods of injustice, the present god of injustice, the present goddess of injustice, the present goddesses of injustice, the present goddess of injustice, the future god of injustice, the future gods of injustice, the future god of injustice, the future goddess of injustice, the future goddesses of injustice, the future goddess of injustice, the authentic god of injustice, the authentic gods of injustice, the authentic god of injustice, the authentic goddess of injustice, the authentic goddesses of injustice, the authentic goddess of injustice, the synthetic god of injustice, the synthetic gods of injustice, the synthetic god of injustice, the synthetic goddess of injustice, the synthetic goddesses of injustice, the synthetic goddess of injustice, the progressive god of injustice, the progressive gods of injustice, the progressive god of injustice, the progressive goddess of injustice, the progressive goddesses of injustice, the progressive goddess of injustice, the regressive god of injustice, the regressive gods of injustice, the regressive god of injustice, the regressive goddess of injustice, the regressive goddesses of injustice, the regressive goddess of injustice, the ordinary god of injustice, the ordinary gods of injustice, the ordinary god of injustice, the ordinary goddess of injustice, the ordinary goddesses of injustice, the ordinary goddess of injustice, the extraordinary god of injustice, the extraordinary gods of injustice, the extraordinary god of injustice, the extraordinary goddess of injustice, the extraordinary goddesses of injustice, the extraordinary goddess of injustice, the static god of injustice, the static gods of injustice, the static god of injustice, the static goddess of injustice, the static goddesses of injustice, the static goddess of injustice, the dynamic god of injustice, the dynamic gods of injustice, the dynamic god of injustice, the dynamic goddess of injustice, the dynamic goddesses of injustice, the dynamic goddess of injustice, the land god of injustice, the land gods of injustice, the land god of injustice, the land goddess of injustice, the land goddesses of injustice, the land goddess of injustice, the sea god of injustice, the sea gods of injustice, the sea god of injustice, the sea goddess of injustice, the sea goddesses of injustice, the sea goddess of injustice, the sky god of injustice, the sky gods of injustice, the sky god of injustice, the sky goddess of injustice, the sky goddesses of injustice, the sky goddess of injustice, the god of injustice, the gods of injustice, the god of injustice, the goddess of injustice, the goddesses of injustice, the goddess of injustice, the half god of injustice, the half gods of injustice, the half god of injustice, the half goddess of injustice, the half goddesses of injustice, the half goddess of injustice, the vessel of injustice, the vessels of injustice, the vessel of injustice, the name of injustice, the names of injustice, the name of injustice, the person of injustice, the persons of injustice, the person of injustice, the persona of injustice, the personas of injustice, the persona of injustice, the personage of injustice, the personages of injustice, the personage of injustice, the personality of injustice, the personalities of injustice, the personality of injustice, the personification of injustice, the personifications of injustice, the personification of injustice, the image of injustice, the images of injustice, the image of injustice, the imagination of injustice, the imaginations of injustice, the imagination of injustice, the belief of injustice, the beliefs of injustice, the belief of injustice, the thought of injustice, the thoughts of injustice, the thought of injustice, the word of injustice, the words of injustice, the word of injustice, the action of injustice, the actions of injustice, the action of injustice, the reaction of injustice, the reactions of injustice, the reaction of injustice, the feeling of injustice, the feelings of injustice, the feeling of injustice, the situation of injustice, the situations of injustice, the situation of injustice, the circumstance of injustice, the circumstances of injustice, the circumstance of injustice, the environment of injustice, the environments of injustice, the environment of injustice, the relationship of injustice, the relationships of injustice, the relationship of injustice, the number of injustice, the numbers of injustice, the number of injustice, the formula of injustice, the formulas of injustice, the formula of injustice, the equation of injustice, the equations of injustice, the equation of injustice, the theory of injustice, The theories of injustice. The theory of injustice. The symbol of injustice. The symbols of injustice. The symbol of injustice. The color of injustice. The colors of injustice. The color of injustice. The thing of injustice. The things of injustice. The thing of injustice. The way of injustice. The ways of injustice. The way of injustice. The place of injustice. The places of injustice. The place of injustice. The time of injustice. The times of injustice. The time of injustice. The event of injustice. The events of injustice. The event of injustice. The result of injustice. The results of injustice. The result of injustice. The crown of injustice. The crowns of injustice. The crown of injustice. The throne of injustice. The thrones of injustice. The throne of injustice. The injustice king. The injustice kings. The injustice kingdom. The injustice kingdoms. The injustice king subject. The injustice king subjects. The injustice king's dominion. The injustice king's dominions. The kingdom of injustice. The kingdoms of injustice. The kingdom of injustice. The injustice queen. The injustice queens. The injustice queendom. The injustice queendoms. The injustice queen subject. The injustice queen subjects. The injustice queen's dominion. The injustice queen's dominions. The queendom of injustice. The queendoms of injustice. The queendom of injustice. The injustice prince. The injustice princes. The injustice princedom. The injustice princedoms. The injustice prince's subject. The injustice prince's subjects. The injustice prince's dominion. The injustice prince's dominions. The princedom of injustice. The princedoms of injustice. The princedom of injustice. The injustice princess. The injustice princesses. The injustice princessdom. The injustice princessdoms. The injustice princess's subject. The injustice princess's subjects. The injustice princess's dominion. The injustice princess's dominions. The princessdom of injustice. The princessdoms of injustice. The princessdom of injustice. The lord of injustice. The lords of injustice. The lord of injustice. The lordess of injustice. The lordesses of injustice. The lordess of injustice. The priest of injustice. The priests of injustice. The priest of injustice. The priestess of injustice. The priestesses of injustice. The priestess of injustice. The ritual of injustice. The rituals of injustice. The ritual of injustice. The shrine of injustice. The shrines of injustice. The shrine of injustice. The temple of injustice. The temples of injustice. The temple of injustice. The leader of injustice. The leaders of injustice. The leader of injustice. The follower of injustice. The followers of injustice. The follower of injustice. The natural substance of injustice. The natural substances of injustice. The natural substance of injustice. The supernatural substance of injustice. The supernatural substances of injustice. The supernatural substance of injustice. The temporal substance of injustice. The temporal substances of injustice. The temporal substance of injustice. The spiritual substance of injustice. The spiritual substances of injustice. The spiritual substance of injustice. The natural form of injustice. The natural forms of injustice. The natural form of injustice. The supernatural form of injustice. The supernatural forms of injustice. The supernatural form of injustice. The temporal form of injustice. The temporal forms of injustice. The temporal form of injustice. The spiritual form of injustice. The spiritual forms of injustice. The spiritual form of injustice. The age of injustice. The ages of injustice. The age of injustice. The era of injustice. The eras of injustice. The era of injustice. The awakener of injustice. The awakeners of injustice. The awakener of injustice. The awakening of injustice. The awakenings of injustice. The awakening of injustice. The realm of injustice. The realms of injustice. The realm of injustice. The dimension of injustice. The dimensions of injustice. The dimension of injustice. The zone of injustice. The zones of injustice. The zone of injustice. The frequency of injustice. The frequencies of injustice. The frequency of injustice. The century of injustice. The centuries of injustice. The century of injustice. The millennium of injustice. The millenniums of injustice. The millennium of injustice. The purpose of injustice. The purposes of injustice. The purpose of injustice. The meaning of injustice. The meanings of injustice. The meaning of injustice. The culture of injustice. The cultures of injustice. The culture of injustice. The demonstrator of injustice. The demonstrators of injustice. The demonstrator of injustice. The demonstration of injustice. The demonstrations of injustice. The demonstration of injustice. The manifester of injustice. The manifestors of injustice. The manifester of injustice. The manifestation of injustice. The manifestations of injustice. The manifestation of injustice. The presence of injustice. The presences of injustice. The presence of injustice. The glow of injustice. The glows of injustice. The glow of injustice. The goal of injustice. The goals of injustice. The goal of injustice. The plan of injustice. The plans of injustice. The plan of injustice. The book of injustice. The books of injustice. The book of injustice. The philosopher of injustice. The philosophers of injustice. The philosopher of injustice. The philosophy of injustice. The philosophies of injustice. The philosophy of injustice. The releaser of injustice. The releasers of injustice. The releaser of injustice. The release of injustice. The releases of injustice. The release of injustice. The variable of injustice. The variables of injustice. The variable of injustice. The cause of injustice. The causes of injustice. The cause of injustice. The effect of injustice. The effects of injustice. The effect of injustice. The journey of injustice. The journeys of injustice. The journey of injustice. The emergence of injustice. The emergences of injustice. The emergence of injustice. The source of injustice. The sources of injustice. The source of injustice. The originator of injustice. The originators of injustice. The originator of injustice. The origin of injustice. The origins of injustice. The origin of injustice. The forefather of injustice. The forefathers of injustice. The forefather of injustice. The foremother of injustice. The foremothers of injustice. The foremother of injustice. The ancestor of injustice. The ancestors of injustice. The ancestor of injustice. The descendant of injustice. The descendants of injustice. The descendant of injustice. The lineage of injustice. The lineages of injustice. The lineage of injustice. The heritage of injustice. The heritages of injustice. The heritage of injustice. The heir of injustice. The heirs of injustice. The heir of injustice. The co-heir of injustice. The co-heirs of injustice. The co-heir of injustice. The joint heir of injustice. The joint heirs of injustice. The joint heir of injustice. The dynasty of injustice. The dynasties of injustice. The dynasty of injustice. The force of injustice. The forces of injustice. The force of injustice. The law of injustice. The laws of injustice. The law of injustice. The pact of injustice. The pacts of injustice. The pact of injustice. The game of injustice. The games of injustice. The game of injustice. The mask of injustice. The masks of injustice. The mask of injustice. The armor of injustice. The armors of injustice. The armor of injustice. The sword of injustice. The swords of injustice. The sword of injustice. The shield of injustice. The shields of injustice. The shield of injustice. The force shield of injustice. The force shields of injustice. the force shield of injustice, the armored force shield of injustice, the armored force shields of injustice, the armored force shield of injustice, the champion of injustice, the champions of injustice, the champion of injustice, the guardian of injustice, the guardians of injustice, the guardian of injustice, the defender of injustice, the defenders of injustice, the defender of injustice, the protector of injustice, the protectors of injustice, the protector of injustice, the chant of injustice, the chants of injustice, the chant of injustice, the shape of injustice, the shapes of injustice, the shape of injustice, the cube of injustice, the cubes of injustice, the cube of injustice, the cuboid of injustice, the cuboids of injustice, the cuboid of injustice, the sphere of injustice, the spheres of injustice, the sphere of injustice, the spheroid of injustice, the spheroids of injustice, the spheroid of injustice, the prism of injustice, the prisms of injustice, the prism of injustice, the pyramid of injustice, the pyramids of injustice, the pyramid of injustice, the cylinder of injustice, the cylinders of injustice, the cylinder of injustice, the cone of injustice, the cones of injustice, the cone of injustice, the triangle of injustice, the triangles of injustice, the triangle of injustice, the circle of injustice, the circles of injustice, the circle of injustice, the semicircle of injustice, the semicircles of injustice, the semicircle of injustice, the square of injustice, the squares of injustice, the square of injustice, the rectangle of injustice, the rectangles of injustice, the rectangle of injustice, the parallelogram of injustice, the parallelograms of injustice, the parallelogram of injustice, the rhombus of injustice, the rhombuses of injustice, the rhombus of injustice, the trapezoid of injustice, the trapezoids of injustice, the trapezoid of injustice, the polygon of injustice, the polygons of injustice, the polygon of injustice, the pentagon of injustice, the pentagons of injustice, the pentagon of injustice, the hexagon of injustice, the hexagons of injustice, the hexagon of injustice, the septagon of injustice, the septagons of injustice, the septagon of injustice, the octagon of injustice, the octagons of injustice, the octagon of injustice, the nonagon of injustice, the nonagons of injustice, the nonagon of injustice, the decagon of injustice, the decagons of injustice, the decagon of injustice, the evolution of injustice, the evolutions of injustice, the evolution of injustice, the revolution of injustice, the revolutions of injustice, the revolution of injustice, the elemental art of injustice, the elemental arts of injustice, the elemental art of injustice, the elemental science of injustice, the elemental sciences of injustice, the elemental science of injustice, the elemental principle of injustice, the elemental principles of injustice, the elemental principle of injustice, the elemental technology of injustice, the elemental technologies of injustice, the elemental technology of injustice, the low elemental art of injustice, the low elemental arts of injustice, the low elemental art of injustice, the low elemental science of injustice, the low elemental sciences of injustice, the low elemental science of injustice, the low elemental principle of injustice, the low elemental principles of injustice, the low elemental principle of injustice, the low elemental technology of injustice, the low elemental technologies of injustice, the low elemental technology of injustice, the high elemental art of injustice, the high elemental arts of injustice, the high elemental art of injustice, the high elemental science of injustice, the high elemental sciences of injustice, the high elemental science of injustice, the high elemental principle of injustice, the high elemental principles of injustice, the high elemental principle of injustice, the high elemental technology of injustice, the high elemental technologies of injustice, the high elemental technology of injustice, the agent of injustice, the agents of injustice, the agent of injustice, the agency of injustice, the agencies of injustice, the agency of injustice, the amplifier of injustice, the amplifiers of injustice, the amplifier of injustice, the amplification of injustice, the amplifications of injustice, the amplification of injustice, the enhancer of injustice, the enhancers of injustice, the enhancer of injustice, the enhancement of injustice, the enhancements of injustice, the enhancement of injustice, the magnifier of injustice, the magnifiers of injustice, the magnifier of injustice, the magnification of injustice, the magnifications of injustice, the magnification of injustice, the influencer of injustice, the influencers of injustice, the influencer of injustice, the influence of injustice, the influences of injustice, the influence of injustice, the emanator of injustice, the emanators of injustice, the emanator of injustice, the emanation of injustice, the emanations of injustice, the emanation of injustice, the converger of injustice, the convergers of injustice, the converger of injustice, the convergence of injustice, the convergences of injustice, the convergence of injustice, the aura of injustice, the auras of injustice, the aura of injustice, the impression of injustice, the impressions of injustice, the impression of injustice, the intelligence of injustice, the intelligences of injustice, the intelligence of injustice, the sophistication of injustice, the sophistications of injustice, the sophistication of injustice, the genius of injustice, the geniuses of injustice, the genius of injustice, the polymath of injustice, the polymaths of injustice, the polymath of injustice, the psychic of injustice, the psychics of injustice, the psychic of injustice, the knowledge of injustice, the knowledges of injustice, the knowledge of injustice, the understanding of injustice, the understandings of injustice, the understanding of injustice, the wisdom of injustice, the wisdoms of injustice, the wisdom of injustice, the secret of injustice, the secrets of injustice, the secret of injustice, the mystery of injustice, the mysteries of injustice, the mystery of injustice, the revelation of injustice, the revelations of injustice, the revelation of injustice, the tactic of injustice, the tactics of injustice, the tactic of injustice, the strategy of injustice, the strategies of injustice, the strategy of injustice, the strength of injustice, the strengths of injustice, the strength of injustice, the might of injustice, the mights of injustice, the might of injustice, the power of injustice, the powers of injustice, the power of injustice, the authority of injustice, the authorities of injustice, the authority of injustice, the dominion of injustice, the dominions of injustice, the dominion of injustice, the rhythm of injustice, the rhythms of injustice, the rhythm of injustice, the melody of injustice, the melodies of injustice, the melody of injustice, the music of injustice, the musics of injustice, the music of injustice, the lyric of injustice, the lyrics of injustice, the lyric of injustice, the song of injustice, the songs of injustice, the song of injustice, the dance of injustice, the dances of injustice, the dance of injustice, the spirit of injustice, the spirits of injustice, the spirit of injustice, the soul of injustice, the souls of injustice, the soul of injustice, the body of injustice, the bodies of injustice, the body of injustice, the mark of injustice, the marks of injustice, the mark of injustice, the promise of injustice, the promises of injustice, the promise of injustice, the visionary of injustice, the visionaries of injustice, the visionary of injustice, the vision of injustice, the visions of injustice, the vision of injustice, the picture of injustice, the pictures of injustice, the picture of injustice, the sound of injustice, the sounds of injustice, the sound of injustice, the tongue of injustice, the tongues of injustice, the tongue of injustice, the language of injustice, the languages of injustice, the language of injustice, the communication of injustice, the communications of injustice, the communication of injustice, the people of injustice, the peoples of injustice, the people of injustice, the society of injustice, the societies of injustice, the society of injustice, the fortress of injustice, the fortresses of injustice, the fortress of injustice, the government of injustice, the governments of injustice, the government of injustice, the city of injustice, the cities of injustice, the city of injustice, the nation of injustice, the nations of injustice, the nation of injustice, the civilization of injustice, the civilizations of injustice, the civilization of injustice, the world of injustice, the worlds of injustice, the world of injustice,